Hey, this is Christine, your DIY craftaholic. Welcome back to my awesome subscribers, as well as those joining me for the first time. This video is part of a quick change DIY challenge being hosted by Theresa B and her two co-hosts, which I will talk about in a little bit. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the video. For DIY number one, I will be using this huge pumpkin from the Dollar Tree. You're gonna need foam brush or any brush for that matter, some white paint. I'm using acrylic paint from Apple Barrel, jute twine, and your hot glue gun. So I'm removing the hanger and raffia tag from the pumpkin. I'm also removing this thankful sign, which was very easy to remove. I will set that aside to use later on. Then I'm going to give this pumpkin 2 coats of paint. Now, if you noticed, I changed from the sponge brush to the bristle brush because that gives the stroke. I then painted the grateful sign with some black paint and added some Mod Podge to that. Used my heat gun to dry it and set that aside. Now I'm sanding down the pumpkin because it was a little bit too white for me and I wanted some of the orange to show through it. Here I'm gluing on some twine on top of the original peg lines. And then I glued on some twine around the edge of the pumpkin. I also used some twine to wrap the stem. If you are new to my channel today, welcome and thank you so much for stopping by. After today, you're family, so please consider subscribing. I then remembered that I did not cover the holes, so I'm just using some spackle to cover that and then sanding it down. I then applied 2 coats of the white acrylic paint and allowed that to dry. I want to give the side some curves, so I'm using my pencil to draw 2 lines on either side. Then I'm going to sand it down a bit. Guys, at this point, I wanted to file this project on aisle 13. I wasn't happy with where it was going because it wasn't coming out like what I had in my mind, and that's why I wanted to file it away. But I revived it. So I'm using this Waverly antique wax with a small paintbrush just to highlight the lines. So here I'm just going to mix some Waverly chalk paint into some ivory, Waverly ivory, along with some Apple Barrel pumpkin, just to give me the shade that I needed. Once I was satisfied, I lightly brushed that on, then applied some Mod Podge. And now we have both sides done. I'm going to work with this side first. So I took the Thanksgiving sign and glued that back on with some hot glue, making sure that I was putting the glue on top of the twine. I then took my chalk pen from the Dollar Tree and just outlined the word because I think that makes it pop. Now I'm gathering up some green and orange maple leaves, and I'm gonna glue those on the top as well as the bottom. I then flipped it over, and here I am taking some of the Thanksgiving ribbon from the Dollar Tree and some burlap ribbon and to make a messy bow. I sometimes like to remove the wire because it's easier for me to work with. I also use some jute to cover the lines. I could have left it as is, but I decided that it needed a little bit of sprucing up. I then glued on a few maple leaves as well at the top and at the bottom. Tied a piece of jute around the stem for hanging, and we're done with this side. Okay guys, so this video is a part of the quick change open collaboration which is being hosted by Theresa B and her co-host Dave from Dave's Read and Jamie from What's Jamie Making. Go ahead and check out the channels of these amazing creators and see what they have going on. Also, be sure to check out the other creators in this playlist. I will leave links to their channels in the description box below, as well as a link for the playlist. DIY number 2. This one I'm gonna call it Maple Leaf, and of course it's double-sided as well. I'll be using a large maple leaf from the Dollar Tree, as well as this piece of scrap wood which I got from the hardware store. 4 tumbling tower blocks, and this is gonna serve as a stand. So I sanded down the rough edges on the wood and used some Dollar Tree spackle to smooth out the jagged edges. I also removed a piece of the stem on the leaf that will allow it to sit a little lower in between the blocks. I then used my white apple barrel acrylic paint to paint both the scrap wood and the leaf. And now they're all dry, I'm going to use my stencil brush to dry brush some of this mixed paint that I have remaining from another project. So I'll be dipping the brush into the paint and then tapping it onto the paper towel just to remove the excess. And I'll do this until I'm satisfied, and I'm going in strokes around the leaf. I went over with some Mod Podge, then dry that with my heat gun. Woot woot! Imagine my excitement when I found these little fall laser cut words at the Dollar Tree. They have them in different sayings that can be used for any season. Anyways, I selected the Hello Autumn. That's my native tongue coming out there. You guys say autumn and I say autumn. Sorry guys, I had to turn the camera in the other direction. I'm going to use a coat of this black apple barrel paint to paint them. Now I wanted the words separated, so I had gently cut them apart off camera. And now that they're all painted, I lined up the words on the leaf, and I'm now using both hot glue as well as Gorilla Glue just to glue them on. The hot glue was for quick hold, while the Gorilla Glue was for longer hold, but as you can see, they were not cooperating. I then took my chalk pen, which is from the Dollar Tree, to outline the words just to make it pop. I then grabbed some ribbon. I couldn't decide how I wanted to embellish this, so I settled on exactly what you see me using here. I think they all complemented the sign. I then made a little messy bow and glued that on. Flipped it back over now to work on the other side. And here I'll be using the blessed word. I mixed some orange and brown paint together and painted that, and for quick drying I had to use my heat gun and then added some Mod Podge. Now, how many of you don't throw out your brown paper bags? If that's you, comment with a raise hand emoji in the comment section below. Alright, so for this side, I'm going to glue down the word with some hot glue as well as a little of the Fix-All glue. And I'm removing the wire from a piece of the same ribbon along with some burlap bow, and made you guessed it, another messy bow. And then I topped that off with the wire that I had cut off, glued that on, and we're done with that bow. Now I'm using this rose gold marker from the Dollar Tree to create some stitch lines around the leaf. And once I did that, we're done. Moving on to DIY number 3. This was a Dollar Tree clipboard that I had removed the clamp from some time ago. You can watch that video right here. I'll leave that in the card above. So I'm reusing it for this double-sided DIY. Now I'm selecting 2 sheets from the Dollar Tree calendar. I had used the sunflower sheet in another video already, so I'm cutting out this thankful and blessed sheet as well as the let it snow sheet. So I'm going to start with this side first. So I'm just laying it just to center it on the board and just using my finger to crease the edge to mark where I needed to cut. And since I'm working with both sides of the board, I'll just cut this one out as well. Because the piece of board is at the top, I want the paper to kind of wrap around the ends. You'll see how I do that in a bit. So I'm creasing it the same way that I did, then I'm gonna cut that out. Now that I have both pieces cut out, I'm just aligning it on the board before I glue it on. And I'm using a lot of this stick glue, but as you can see, the paper expanded a little bit because I now have more around the edges than I had before when I cut that out. But no worries, I'll use my sanding block to remove the excess. So okay, let's work on the other side. Now I did the same thing with the other side. I glued on the paper and sanded it down. And here I'm using some of this leftover stir sticks, which I got at Lowe's. I'll let you see what I'm doing. I'll just pause my talking and let you watch to see what I'm doing here. A reminder that after you get done watching my video, hop on down to the description box and check out the playlist with all the other creators. There was still a little space. I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera. I wanted to create a design at the join. So what I did, I just double the twine, glue down at one end, and allowed the end to fall right where the sticks join. And then I double the other side, glue that down, and cut off enough where I could tie in a bow. And once I tied that bow, I then took another small piece of the twine and just cover up where the 2 pieces met. We're almost done, guys. So if you're still watching, comment with a sunshade emoji in the comments below. We're getting very close to the end, so hang in there with me. Now for the other side, I cut down pieces of the stir stick and used them to cover the spaces at the side. Then I made it all together now. Say this all together. A messy bow. Yeah, you got it. So I'm going to start calling it lazy bow from now on because I just think it's a lazy way, not lazy in a bad way, but lazy in a good way of making a bow. I was going to use that piece of red ribbon you see there just to complement the red berries in the picture, but then I changed my mind. And there you have it. All right, guys, I think these quick change DIYs turned out okay. My favorite thus far is the last one. So let me know in the comment which one of these was your favorite, and if you watched to the end you would have 2 emojis as well as letting me know which one was your favorite. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing and let me know that you're new here. And hit that notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I upload new content. And if you like content like this, I recommend this video as well as this playlist. And stay safe until next time. Bye.